Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose.
The people that are being cut up in these increasingly cruel raids are farm workers, cooks, car wash employees, restaurant employees. They were deemed essential to our economy at the tail end of the first Trump administration, at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and now they're the main target of these cruel ICE raids. Based on these artificial quotas that are being set, there's got to be a better way. This is not in our security interest. It's not in our economic interest.
Good afternoon, you bunch of drunks. No, it is not Jamie Allman. It is Chris Arps. Honored to sit in for the great Jamie Allman today. He is off today. This is the Allman Report. Make sure I get the name correctly. Producer Ashlyn, of course, is here with me, and she's going to guide me and hold my hand while I take on this illustrious show. Ashlyn, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good. Good. I always try to make sure that that the producer, whoever, I always try to acknowledge and make sure they're here, and so they're not like, could you at least acknowledge that we're here and give us some credit? But so, all right. Honored again, as I said, to sit in for Jamie Allman today. We have a very big show. That clip that you heard was Democratic Senator Padilla. He's from California, of course, saying that deporting illegal aliens is not in our security interest or economic, or it's our security interest or economic threat. And I disagree vehemently. That's the argument that you hear. Not only do the Democrats say that these people are immigrants and don't call them what they are, illegal immigrants. Now they say that these people are here, they're paying taxes, they're adding to the economy, and because of that, they should be allowed in the country. And I don't think just because you come and do the right thing, once you're here, once you break into the country, you should not have to pay a penalty for that. First of all, it sends a message to others that, good-meaning people who, of course, want to come and have a better life. But it tells those people, if you come into the country illegally, if you can make it in, don't get caught, establish yourself as a legal kind of like resident, that will give you some type of amnesty after so many years. I don't think that's the right message that we should be sending to people all over the world. If you remember during the 2020 election, when the Democrats were having their primary debate, and one of the questioners asked them, should it be a priority to arrest illegal immigrants? Every one of them raised their hand and said no. And then after President Biden was elected, became president, you had this massive historic surge of people coming north because he sent that signal many, many times over that there would be some type of amnesty if you can come into the country. So I think you have to be very, very careful what type of message that you send to people, because they can either be on purpose and you want tens of thousands of people to come here, or inadvertently sending a message, and these people believe that you're signaling that they should come here. I tell you, I've been gone out of the country for the past year, or not yet. God, no, not for the past year, for the past week over in Britain. And I got to tell you, I had never been over there before. The food is some of the most blandest food I ever had in my life. And I've never traveled overseas a lot. Drinking water just at room temperature, not having any ice. They don't believe in ice, apparently, in the UK. But it was a great time seeing all the great sights. The Crown Jewels, Buckingham Palace, all of that. Great people over there, even though they drive on the wrong side of the road. And also, too, I noticed in the hotel, Ashland, that the elevators are also the opposite as well. You know, on the right side of the elevators, when we go up on the elevator, they do the opposite. You go up on the left side of the elevator and come down on the right, completely backwards. I almost broke my neck and got on the wrong elevator. Luckily, it had some type of motion detector thing that if you get on the wrong one, it stops or it doesn't start. So I was like, good thing for that. But, you know, speaking of UK, and I was talking about how consequences or actions that you can take could have consequences that you don't want to happen. While I was over there in UK, they were talking about a bill that was repealed back in the bill started, excuse me, in 1799, and this bill was repealed in April. And what it said that if you were a foreigner, and especially if you were super rich, this is why people did that, and you lived in Britain, if you didn't make any money in Britain, if all of your income came from overseas, you didn't have to pay any income taxes at all. So people were flocking to Britain to live because people could live off their investments overseas and say they're not making any money. And so this bill was repealed in April. They were expecting over 10 years to make $450 billion. I know Jamie's on. I know the News Talk STL audience knows what the results of this, what happened after this repeal. Thousands upon thousands, and this law affects 77,000 people that I heard. This was an article in the Wall Street Journal. This law affects 77,000 people, and they don't have a direct figure of how many people are leaving, but they are saying that thousands and thousands and thousands of people have left the country, and that eventually, instead of reaping $450 billion over 10 years in excess revenue, that it may end up costing the government money. And why does British government, why do they need more money? Well, we know the National Health Service is not cheap. It is inefficient. Does not work well. I saw a well-meaning cousin of mine the other day, and I was talking about Europe and their national health services, and she had seen some type of propaganda show where some guy went over to Europe and got a cancer surgery or something, and it happened in no time, cost him nothing. And I wanted to comment so badly, but I said, really isn't worth it. But most of the time people come to the United States, even our neighbor from Canada up north, Canadians come to the United States for surgeries. That the National Health Service, if you need a routine surgery or really a surgery that can save your life, that you may not get that surgery for years. You may die before you get that service. And because healthcare is already very expensive, when it's a national health service, and when it's a socialist type of welfare system, you're going to add extra costs onto it anyway, and it's never going to be efficient. This also makes me think of a story, this billionaire super rich tax that the British have repealed. It makes me, and I talked about this before, I think a couple weeks ago. Reminds me back when George H.W. Bush was elected president back in 1988, excuse me. And the Democrats had talked him into a deal that if he raised taxes, that they would cut spending. Ronald Reagan himself believed in a deal or some type of deal. The Democrats promised that they'll do something later. The Republicans will do this now. And of course, it never happens. And one of the taxes that George H.W. Bush, and people that are my age or older remembered, it was the so-called luxury tax that would only affect people that were buying high-end jewelry, that you get at Cartier or Louis bags or stuff of that nature, or people that bought yachts, or people that bought very, very expensive cars that were sold to the public and sold to people. This only affects the rich. These are luxury items further anyway. They're wealthy. They won't even feel the difference. And you saw that the boat industry in Florida practically went out of business. The ship makers, the ordinary people, the blue collar worker people that make those jobs were losing their jobs because the people were going down to the Caribbean to buy those boats without those added taxes onto it. You also saw the high-end stores, Cartier, Tiffany in New York, a lot of their sales went dramatically down because people were going, I guess, probably traveling over to Europe or buying it overseas and having it shipped over here. So, liberals have this view of money that it's static, it doesn't change, and it doesn't take into effect that money and economics also deals with people's behaviors, and that wealthy people have money not because they or spend it crazily and don't view it as a resource and something that should be treasured. That's why they have a lot of money, because they don't spend money unnecessarily. They're not going to pay extra taxes for a yacht when they can just go 90, 100 miles off the coast of Florida and buy the same yacht at a much, much cheaper price. So they'll learn one day, hopefully not anytime soon. We're going to dive into this more into the show about how the Democrats are imploding. You hear on the network level and the national level how the Democrats are just or the Republicans are the ones that are in trouble. The disunity, even though President Trump has passed the big, beautiful bill and all of that. But I'm going to talk about some polling about the Democrats, and they are having an autopsy to figure out if they what to do so they can win presidential election next time. And they're asking the question: should President Biden quitting, should that have anything to do with the autopsy? Yeah, I think so. All right, it's 12:19. Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps filling in for the great Jamie Allman on the Allman Report on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Schneider's True Value Hardware, and I want to bust a myth for you. And I've fallen into that trap at one point in my life where I'm thinking, well, the big box stores have got to be cheaper than the smaller guys because the smaller guys are charging more because the big box stores have so much more and all this kind of stuff. And the smaller guys don't have enough, so they have to charge more for it. That's not the case. The big box stores actually have huge overhead. Somebody's got to pay for the parking lot and healthcare for the employees and all that kind of stuff. And somebody's got to pass those costs on to you. So let me tell you something. Schneider's True Value Hardware, it has employees that it takes very good care of. But let me tell you something. It has the lowest prices you're going to find of any hardware store around. It's been in St. Charles County, right there in Old Town St. Peter's, for more than 100 years. It's a family-owned operation. Jerry Schneider's a great guy. He's got a sidekick there, Charlie, and the rest of the team who are ready to help you with any project you happen to have or any question you happen to have or any advice you happen to need. They're an authorized dealer of those often awesome steel products that are battery-operated products, the hedge trimmers, lawnmowers, you name it. And this is all sales, parts, and service on the steel products and the best prices you're going to find. Wide range of tools, expert advice through the team's True Value Hardware expertise, and, of course, that legacy right there in Old Town St. Peter's for 100 years. Your hardware destination, one nail at a time. Strong supporters of free common sense conservative radio. Check it out. TrueValue.com/Schneiders.
The Wall That Heals comes to St. Louis County July 24th through 27th at Jefferson Barracks Historic Site. This traveling replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial has brought healing to nearly 800 communities nationwide. Join us as the Vic Percelli Show broadcasts live from the Wall Thursday, July 24th from 9 till noon. Made possible by Best Buy Flooring, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and DG Firearms.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. When life changes, you need someone you can trust. That's Todd Sivia. At Sivia Law, they're dedicated to helping you through all of life's transitions, specializing in estate planning and elder law. With 7 convenient locations in the area, expert guidance is always close by. Call 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL, or visit CiviaLaw.com. Don't forget, first 10 people that tell them Tim Jones sent me get a free $300 strategy session. Civia Law, helping you protect what matters most.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
He said, we've got a problem with entire food deserts where people can't get access to grocery stores. Said, I'd like to take a look at whether or not we can have some kind of, like we do on military bases, you have some kind of support from the city government that says we're going to get some food grocery stores in areas that right now are food deserts. And by the way, it's a new and fresh plan for New York City, but it's been tried in other cities around the country and has had some real successes. So what I hear Mamdani saying is, I want to try things to make it work for working families. And you know what? This is how democracy works. A lot of people in New York City said, that sounds good to me. I'd rather try that than any of the other alternatives available to me. I support that.
1224 on the Allman Report. This is Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Honored to fill in for Jamie there today. And you hear that Senator Elizabeth Warren, affectionately known as Pocahontas, supporting price controls, saying that that's a popular thing. Because it's a popular thing, it should be something we do. That's the most stupidest thing that I ever heard in my life. Elizabeth Warren said that the cities owning grocery stores, that's been tried in other cities. Yes, it has been tried in other cities. It's been tried over across the other side of the state in Kansas City, actually. Here's a Washington Post article that I have here. The title is Kansas City poured millions into a grocery store. It still may close. That's the Washington Post headlines. A quote from it says, more cities and states are experimenting with the concept of city-owned grocery stores, but these experiments often don't account for social issues. I mean, look, we are a capitalist economy. We're not Russia of the old days. You know, I saw a picture yesterday on Facebook, and then those of you that are old enough to remember Boris Yeltsin, who after the Soviet Union collapsed, became the president of Russia. And he had a big gregarious personality. And a lot of people thought that he liked to take a little too many swigs of the vodka. But there's a picture of him coming to America. And one of the things that he wanted to do was to see an American grocery store, because we saw during the Cold War that people were in bread lines and meat lines, and you had to have ration cards and everything. The stores were, the shelves were not stocked. And you just see the look on his face, just going into an American grocery store, seeing shelves with row after row full of food, going to a freezer and seeing it just packed with meat. He just couldn't absolutely believe that he saw something like that. And you have something like that because of capitalism, not because the state has decided to run grocery stores. You know, when I was a much, much younger man, I had a second job that I worked at Schnucks Bakery over by Natural Bridge. And man, I ate so many sweets and donuts and cakes and stuff, Ashland, and at that bakery. Seriously, I could not eat donuts, sweets, or anything for like 3 or 4 years. Just the sight of a donut or a bear claw or anything, or a Long John or a cinnamon twist just made me just ill.
That sounds like the best job.
No, you can get sick of eating all those sweets like that. But the one thing that I learned that was very, very interesting in the supermarket business, you think that, you make a lot of money if you have those stores with all that food, but they make like 1 to 2 cents off of every product in a grocery store. They don't make a ton of money. The margins are very, very, very short there. So if a businessman who has an interest in preserving his capital and making sure that the venture is successful has to go on 2% margins, what the world is the government going to care? Of course not. And it's not going to run very, very constructively. We know that the Democrats have gone to this communist socialist bent now. Remember what his name, Ramadan Mandami, or is that his first name? I know his last name's Mandami, and I shouldn't make fun of him like that. But he's not getting a very, very warm reception from which you'd expect from the business class in New York. They have raise money for a PAC. They didn't say which candidate they were going to support because former governor Andrew Cuomo, he has started an independent PAC, an independent candidacy, and then you have the mayor who's running as an independent as well. So this business group is raising funds for a PAC. They haven't decided which two that they're going to give money to, but definitely they are scared to death of Mamdani. Mamdani knows that he needs the support of the leaders of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. You have the minority leader of the Senate, minority leader of the House, both from New York. You're from New York. None of them have endorsed you, so that looks pretty bad. He went up to Washington, D.C. to see both of those two gentlemen. They have yet endorsed Mamdani. Not a good sign. He said this. One of the things that Mamdani has been criticized for is he said that and he repeated a line that Hamas inspired students have yelled, talking about globalize the Intifada. He said that he would, quote unquote, discourage pro-Palestinian protesters in the future from using that term, globalize the Intifada, saying he wasn't interested in policing people's speech. I mean, that is such a cop-out, just because you want to hide behind the First Amendment to give free rein to say absolutely horrible things that could end up costing people their lives or getting very, very seriously hurt. I think it's absolutely terrible. I mentioned Andrew Cuomo, former governor, I think you got to put that in front of his name, former disgraced governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. As I said, he is running as an independent. The gentleman that owns WABC in New York, I think he owns, and John Katsimatidis, never have said known how to spell his name, but he hosted a business luncheon with leaders up in the Hamptons for Andrew Cuomo, and Cuomo was quoted that if Mamdani wins, he will move to Florida, which I don't blame him, and probably the business class would do the same as well. He did say later that he was just joking, but people in New York are scared to death that this 33-year-old socialist just may get into office and not only destroy New York City, but also destroy the Democratic brand going into an election year where historically the party that is out of power gains seats. You could see a reversal of that. All right. Minneapolis Democrats, they've kind of said the same thing. They've kind of told New York and the rest of the leftists, here, hold my beer. Minneapolis, the great city of Minneapolis, great socialist city of Minneapolis, in the primary, listen to this. This is how radical these people are becoming. They have chosen a state senator named Omar Fatch, a quote unquote Democratic socialist, as their nominee in the upcoming mayoral election over the incumbent, who is a Democrat. So they're going from far left to far, far left. I guess Mamdani has inspired them, and they are under the mistaken belief that people who are in the middle, who are working class, average day Americans are sick of capitalism and prosperity and want to go the route of socialism. I hope that they find out that that is not the right way we should go. The Democrats are at a crossroads. They're wondering, as I said, should they go far, far to the left, or should they moderate themselves and come straight to the center? We're seeing aspects of them doing that. Some of the people that have been speculated as running on the Democratic ticket in 2028 is former ambassador in Chicago, Mayor Rahm Emanuel. And I said one thing, Rahm scares me because Rahm Emanuel was a architect of Bill Clinton. He served in several different roles in Bill Clinton's term, but he's a smart, savvy politician. If you ever listen to him, if you can look at him outside of a partisan lens and look at just as him as a political strategist, he's very good. And he knows that the Democrats, it's not a winning ticket for them to go down this left socialist route. And he could be a black horse candidate in 2028 come through the middle and be a nominee. And I think he'd be a very, very good nominee. President Trump, the Democrats are trying to learn the lesson. He did not go to the traditional media, as we know, in this last campaign. He went on podcasts, which, you look at the numbers, they got tens of millions of more views and hits than the traditional news. And so that helped President Trump with the younger generation, and Joe Rogan going to the mixed MMA matches. That helped him tremendously. So the Democrats are being copycats, doing the same thing. Rahm Emanuel is scheduled to sit down with Megyn Kelly for a live episode of the Megyn Kelly show on New York City. Also, Pete Buttigieg was on Pardon My Take. That program got 3 million views, and that's what I'm talking about right there. And that is the audience that you need to attend to. I think I saw something, and it hasn't been recent, but I think the millennial generation has recently become the largest generation and has supplanted the baby boom generation. And the baby boom generation are, of course, are dying out and are getting much older. So it's smart politics to appeal to a group that listens to more podcasts than they do national TV, and especially when those type of platforms tend to skew a little more rightward because they are men oriented. Another guy that is supposed to be what's his name here? I can't find it. All right, one other thing that Democrats, as they are looking in the mirror, and I mentioned they're doing a audit of the 2024 losses. They said they'll, quote, still steer clear of the decision made by the Biden turned Harris campaign and will focus more heavily instead on actions taken by allied groups. That's from the New York Times. And I don't know how you're going to do an autopsy on the 2024 cycle and not factor in Joe Biden, first of all, not having the mental capacity to do a simple debate past 6 o'clock and the nation seeing that. I don't see how you can not factor that into your losses. Now, we've seen what's her name? God, Kamala Harris. And we've all seen how we've always thought that she may have been taking a couple of gummies there because some of the comments that she made. So they didn't have much going after Joe Biden, but still to it's almost kind of like a hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil type of thing when you talk about that. You absolutely have to do that. Democrats, a new CNN poll has come out that says 28% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorable. That is an all-time low that is going back to 1992, which is very interesting because if you'll remember, and Ashton, I think you're around in 1992. I think you're about 14 or 15. You remember Bill Clinton. You're like, I don't think so, right?
97.
1992 was Bill Clinton, the year of Bill Clinton. And he was a Southern centrist governor. The same, if you remember, Jimmy Carter was a Southern centrist governor, and he won the presidency by taking that center route. And who was alongside for the ride? Who I mentioned earlier, former ambassador, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. So watch out for why do I want to call him Mom Emanuel? Rahm Emanuel. Rahm is the dark horse. He really, really knows his politics. Another gentleman that they've mentioned, and because Missouri borders so many states, we border 7 or 8 of them, I think. One of our border states may produce a presidential candidate, and that is Andy Beshear. He's the former governor of Kentucky, and it's been amazing that he has been able to win 2 elections in Kentucky, and I think he's term limited in a pretty red state. And so people are looking at him as a pretty good alternative. Now, they don't consider Kentucky the South. I know there was a border state like Missouri. They consider, no, I guess they consider the mid South. So they are part of the South. So he could take that same Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter route, mid South, South governor, centrist leaning, comes in and wins the nomination, becomes president of the United States. We don't know that. The controversy, I don't know, probably talked about this. We talked about this, how Biden, there's been some controversy on some of the pardons that he took that was used with the auto pen. And I remember using the auto pen when I worked for Jim Talent. We'd sign that. I wouldn't sign it, but we'd sign with the auto pen on letters that we send out to constituents and groups. And it was actually his signature. He signed, I don't know exactly how it works, but he signed something, and it's just a machine that you turn on, and it literally, and it's probably been updated over 20 plus years, but it's a machine that mimics someone's signature. And I think the courts have said that it is legal to do that. It counts as the president's decision. Joe Biden, if I was him, he should probably try to stay out of the limelight as much as he can. But he had an interview with the New York Times, and he said that Trump and other Republicans are, quote, liars for claiming he used an auto pen to do so without his authorization. He said, quote, I made every decision. He said that twice, I guess for impact. So Joe Biden, I think the best thing for him, if I was advising, and of course I am not, is that it'd probably be best for him to sit down somewhere and stay out of the public, because I think of course, the congressional committees that were investigating before are still going. You remember that Joe Biden's personal physician in the White House pleaded the fifth, which is very interesting. I mean, I can see someone as a doctor pleading patient doctor privilege. Okay. I don't want to talk about someone's medical records and conditions publicly, but to plead the fifth, which says that, you may incriminate yourself by what you speak as your doctor, is very, very interesting. And one of the questions that he made that statement was, he asked, were you ever asked to lie about the president's health? And he said, I plead the fifth. So with that still swirling around in the news, I think Joe Biden probably shouldn't add any more fire to that controversy talking about that. All right, I'm going to next talk about, we had the big, beautiful bill and how well it's done. There's been the $9.4 billion in rescission cuts that passed last week. And our own Senator Schmidt spearheaded that, and we'll go over some of those cuts. And one of those cuts was NPR PBS. And the liberals just cry bloody murder when you talk about cuts. I'm going to give you some of the examples of the cuts that were made to PBS, NPR, and see if you agree with any of them. All right. This is Chris Arps on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, sitting in for Jamie Allman on the Allman Report. You're listening. This is 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
I still remember in the days when I was scared to touch you, how I spent my day dreaming, planning how to say I love you.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
STL Bath and Renovation. And a lot of people who are grown-ups actually do spend time cleaning grout. And let's just imagine a bathroom that didn't have any grout, and therefore you didn't have to clean it. And therefore, as I say, you could spend more time writing your autobiography and the history of how wonderful you are. That's how you possibly can do it with my friend Rob Very at STL Bath and Renovation. So they have man-made cultured stone, natural stone, This is low maintenance, grout free for the next bathroom project. And you can renovate an entire bath, or you can just gut and totally remodel everything, or you can just repaint it. Something very simple that you might have to do, because it is all about you. Rob's moniker always is, they specialize in you. That's STL Bath and Renovation. So check it out, STLBR.com, STLBR.com.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Love spending time outdoors, but hate the bugs? This year's tick problem is worse than ever. Don't let mosquitoes, ticks, gnats, and chiggers ruin your family fun. Mosquito Joe delivers effective pest control that's guaranteed to protect your family and pets. No long-term contract, and we handle all the scheduling for you. Mosquito Joe is winning the battle against bugs. Get your free estimate today by calling 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. That's 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. Mosquito Joe, we make the outdoors fun again.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
With every Larry Connors USA program, you're going to get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Love me some Luther. Oh, we're on there. Excuse me. All right, Chris Arbs from the Tim Jones and Chris Arbs show on the Allman Report. Honored to sit in for Jamie Allman. I'm sorry, Ashton. I get really excited about Luther Vandross. I loved him. He takes me back to my high school days, and he just had one of those voices that's once in a lifetime. Very, very smooth voice. And he used to have a lot of slow music that he would play. And the people used to say, this is Eddie Murphy said this, not me. He said it. Luther Vandross used to have baby making music. That's not my quote. That's what Luther used to say. All right. Coming back, we just had the $1 billion tax cut bill, the big, beautiful bill. And afterwards, we have some more successes. $9.4 billion rescission package was passed last week, and our own Senator Schmidt here of Missouri, he was the lead sponsor on he was the lead sponsor on getting that cut. Now, $9.4 billion, it's not a whole lot of money, but as Tim and I always say here on the show, you got to start somewhere. And this also sends a message to people that the spending spigot will be cut off. And I also think it sends a message to the tea and crumpet PBS crowd who have been basically leeches on the government for all these years to spew out their left-wing programming. And we all know that is what happens. Whenever you have any type of spending cuts, the Democrats are going to have an absolute conniption fit saying, you're taking this, you're taking that. They are doing that with PBS and these NPR cuts. Now, one of the arguments that they make to me actually doesn't help them, but I think it does. They'll say, well, only between 1 and 15% of our money comes from the government. Well, if it's that small, then why don't you go and raise the rest of it and make up the gap if it's that so small? Why do you need to have the government supporting you? I've got some examples here, and this comes from the White House. They put this press release out after the $9.4 billion rescission cut was signed into law by the president. Let me tell you what some of your 1 to 15% of PBS broadcasting has paid for in the past. In 2024, NPR ran a Valentine's Day feature around queer animals, in which it suggested the make-believe clownfish in Finding Nemo would have been better off as a female that banana slugs are hermaphrodites, and that some deer are non-binary. All right, this is what your taxpayer dollars are paying for. And I just lost the thing. This is what your taxpayer dollars are paying for. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental decline, with far left journalist Jeff Goldberg claiming Biden is actually quite acute. In 2022, NPR educated the nation on the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts. Yes, let me give you that again. It's the whole quote unquote whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts and quote transceratops. I don't even know what that is, but that's what your tax dollars are going for. In 2021, a PBS station aired quote a children's program that featured a drag queen named quote Lil Miss Hot Mess. What that has to do with children's programming, I don't know, but that's what your tax-paying dollars are going for. In 2021, NPR reported on the quote cousin of diet culture known as healthism, which is the idea that we have to be healthy, is if that was a bad thing. In 2021, NPR suggested doorway sizes are based on, quote, latent fat phobia. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. In 2021, NPR lamented that, quote, animals deserve pronouns too. In 2022, NPR ran a feature that titled, What Queer Ducks Can Teach Teenagers About Sexuality in the Animal Kingdom. In 2020, PBS showed Sesame Street partnered with CNN for a town hall aimed presenting children with a one-sided narrative to address racism amid Black Lives Matter riots. And finally, let me give you one more. In 2020, NPR explained the racial origins of fat phobia. In 2017, NPR ran a story titled Cannibalism, It's Perfectly Natural, in which an author described eating another human placenta. It was really the prep that made it taste good. Granted, the husband was a chef, and so he knew how to prepare it, asso buco, whatever the hell that is, style, and used a really nice wine I had bought. It smelled great. It didn't taste bad. That's what your taxpayer dollars are going to, folks. Now, it was very interesting, too. A good friend of mine who graduated, I think, went to the same high school. I think we were probably around the same year. She was sad at what has happened to NPR. She said back in the day that she volunteered for NPR. She bought the mugs. She, supported the station. And I got to tell you, I did the exact same thing, and I would always kind of been politically aware, but when Channel 9 would have their, now this is like late 80s, 87, 88, 89, 91, when Channel 9 PBS would have their telethons, you give this much, pledge this, you get a mug or you get a t-shirt or something. I have done that several times. I will admit that. Felt that I should support the station. But there was a huge difference from the NPR that you have and the PBS that you have now than what you had in the late 80s. One of the programs that I really enjoyed and really started educating me on politics was the McNeil-Lehrer Report. And it was two older gentlemen that used to be journalists on one of the broadcast networks. They went to PBS, started their own show. I could never tell any bias at all within any of the programming. They gave the news I was a much younger person, maybe early 20s, but I was still kind of, could tell the difference if someone was BSing me. And I never detected any type of bias at all within the McNeil-Lehrer Report. I felt that I was getting the news straight down the line. One of their programs that has really become far left is Frontline. And one of the examples that I gave here is some of their programming. But when I was watching PBS in the late 80s, early 90s, Frontline was doing the type of documentaries on, and I'll tell you an example, because I can always remember it, because my family's from Tyler, Texas. That's where I was born. But there was a company called Tyler Pipe in Texas. And this company had just an enormous amount of OSHA injuries. I mean, it was basically you go in there, you're taking your life in your hand that you walk out after you know, that you're going to clock out. And so Frontline did like a report on Texas Pipe, other type of investigative reports like that. Now, if you watch Frontline, and there are more examples, you can go to the White House and you can see the examples of this. Now, if you go to Frontline, it's just left-wing propaganda against Republicans. They have completely changed. And my friend was very, very sad about seeing the way NPR has changed from what it used to be. Let me read you her quote. She said, quote, "Back in my younger years, I supported and volunteered for Channel 9 here in St. Louis. I love watching Doctor Who, Red Dwarf, Benny Hill, Hardware Wars. Channel 9 will always have a special place in my heart. It may be TMI for some, but I remember my dad watching a lot of shows that refused God's existence. When I became a Christian, I worked pretty hard to give my dad Christian videos and talk with him about God, Jesus. I feel like those shows influenced his thoughts on God. I know I have atheist friends here on Facebook, and you might understand or agree with my fear. Obviously, we make our own decisions. I'm just putting this one out there because even if it's just a channel, it meant something to me in two opposite directions." Everyone probably has their own different feelings about Channel 9. For some, when I was in kindergarten, Sesame Street and all of that was just starting, 1969. 1970. I mean, that's what taught Big Bird and Grover and Oscar. A lot of us is what helped us to read even back then, and they're still doing that with kids today. But there wasn't a political bent as it has now, and they just totally have destroyed these programs. And it's a different time, a different day. When PBS was signed into law by Lyndon Johnson in 1968, you had 3 TV channels. You had ABC, CBS, NBC. That was it. There needed to be other channels, other avenues for news to come out to help educate little kids, like we said, with Sesame Street and all of that. It was necessary. But this is 2025. We've got cable with 150 channels. We have satellite. We have cable. We have phones that can stream. We have all type of access to programming and to entertainment. And why PBS is held out as this gem that just has to have government money or it won't survive, which is a good thing or is a bad thing to them, is I don't understand. And we're hearing the cries of, oh my God, this is 15% of our budget that we're not going to be able to survive. Some of these smaller stations are going to shut down. I hate that because, friends of ours, friends of mine may have their jobs in jeopardy. But I mean, in a capitalist society, if a enterprise is not pulling its weight, it's going to close. It should close. It should not be subsidized by the government. A business model, your business model should not be, okay, we're going to hopefully get about 75 to 85 of our revenue from commercials, and we're going to budget in every year about the rest of the 15% in government money. I mean, what kind of business model is that? That would never ever work in the private sector, and so it shouldn't work at all. NPR, you've been around for 50 years. It's time to either sink or swim. Sell commercials. There are people that will believe in this programming and will pay for it. Let them pay for it. I don't want to pay for programming that goes against my own values. All right, 12:57. Chris Arps on the Allman Report, 1019 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, has produced documents that reportedly show Barack Obama and former Obama administration officials conspired against President Trump in 2016. Republican strategist Aaron McGuire.
This is a massive scandal, not only for Democrats, but for the Obamas and the Bidens and their legacy. I can't wait to continue to see where this investigation goes, and shining daylight on these facts will help the American people make sure that in any election going forward, nobody but an American elects an American president.
Gabbard said intelligence was withheld on Russian interference in the 2016 election that proved Russia was not involved, and then documents were created saying Russia was involved in the election. The UK and Germany leading a NATO meeting to provide military support for Ukraine, including advanced air defense systems. The British defense chief wants Ukraine's Western partners at the meeting to launch a 50-day drive to get Kyiv the weapons it needs and force Russian President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. Also at townhall.com, President Trump encourages Texas to create more Republican-leaning congressional seats. An update from Bernie Bennett.
The Texas legislature kicked off a special session Monday with President Donald Trump keeping tabs on the action from Washington. Republican Governor Greg Abbott called in the session following devastating flooding in Central Texas. But redistricting is also on the agenda, and Mr. Trump is asking Texas state lawmakers to draw a congressional map with as many as 5 more House districts that favor Republicans. Doing so would bolster the party's chances of maintaining control in the House after next year's midterms. The president has no public events on his schedule Monday. He's planning a private lunch with Vice President J.D. Vance at the White House. Bernie Bennett reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking and the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword micro to get your free phone Today, you can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Most of the rain has moved on, but we do still have some cloud cover that's going to shave a couple of degrees off the high temperature, which will be close to 90, putting the heat index in the upper 90s today. So still very hot. We still have an extreme heat warning for the area through Thursday. Daily highs are going to be in the 90s, and those heat index readings up over 100, with very little additional rain expected the rest of the work week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Jamie Allman here for Stewart's American Mortgage, stewartsamc.com, or less complicated wise, you can just simply Google the bagel loan, because Stewart and Jordan, they are inventors of the bagel loan. And the bagel is basically a zero closing costs, zero lending fees, zero appraisal fees, zero credit pull fees, all this nonsense that other lenders are piling on you. Let me tell you something. Stewart and Jordan will not do that. And that's because they deal in such volume, because everybody loves the bagel loan. And so they don't have to nickel and dime you. The rates are the lowest you're going to find. I use Jordan all the time with my buyers in the real estate market, because I know they can depend on him for pre-approval letters and for an easy skate when it comes to the lending and when it comes to closing fees. This also pertains to your refinancing or your debt consolidation. He, again, is going to save you a ton of money on all three: buying, debt consolidation, and, of course, refinancing. And all you have to do is Google the bagel loan. Give them a call. Tell them Jamie Allman sent you. Also, thanks Stewart and Jordan for supporting free common sense conservative radio. Google the bagel loan or go to stewartsamc.com.
This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com.
And the question is the MAGA base going to come back together, or is this a base that is fractured?
The facts of Donald Trump's base are this, and we reported on this morning here on CNN. Since the Epstein business started, his job approval among Republicans has gone up.
All of these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files, you might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up.
He's over 90% with Republicans. It's not hurting him with his base. I know you're a Democratic strategist, maybe not an expert on the MAGA base.
In his base
but look what's
very frustrating.
But look what's happening. He's gone up. Why? Because while we're all sitting here dealing with this nonsense, out in real America, he's signing legislation on fentanyl. He's talking about the AI future in Pennsylvania. He's securing the border, big
Healthcare
beautiful
away
bill.
from 17
So
million Americans.
his numbers are going up with Republicans. This is a fantasy that Democrats have been engaging in since January that Republicans would abandon.
No, Scott, do not.
Trump, it's not
Try to
happening.
put this on Democrats.
107 on the Allman Report. My name is Chris Arps, and co-host of Tim Jones and Chris Arps show here from 4 to 6. Jamie, of course, is out today. He will be out tomorrow, but they'll be back Wednesday. So I'm happy to sit in, filling in, and honored for the great Jamie Allman. Producer Ashlyn is on the wheels of steel. She is holding my hand and making sure that I don't run the show too far into the ground there. You know, as we talked about earlier, the media, you listen to them, Democrats, everything's going great. They're the party. They're going to take over. Republicans are the ones that are having all the problems. We see that that's not the case. You look at President Trump, the big, beautiful bill. You look at all the other things that have passed within the government, the bills, that have passed, the crypto bill passed recently. We have the rescission package that I talked about passed recently. You looked at all the Supreme Court decisions that are granting power back to the executive branch. This is winning, and I think one thing that those pundits there are missing in their analysis is that it's the economy, stupid. James Carville, he's the one that came up with that quote back in 1992, and I think you can talk about Epstein. You can talk about the MAGA base splitting or apparently hurt over President Trump sending missiles to Ukraine, bombing Iran. But I think when it all comes down to it, I think that people vote their pocketbooks. If the economy is doing well next year, which it's poised to do that. I mean, there's this theory going around. President Trump is going to fire Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman. It's talk that he's been talked out of that because Fed has kind of signaled that they're going to have 2 rate cuts possibly this year. Jerome Powell's term ends, I think, in March of next year. So it's just hold on, don't fire him. Things are going to improving anyway, in that you can possibly disrupt the markets if you do that. You know, before we went to break there, we were talking about PBS and how it was a great station back in the day. And I was kind of a little worried. I'm like, oh, people don't think I'm like a closet liberal or something back in the day or whatever. But I'm seeing a lot of folks here on the stream, Margaret and Amy, also are agreeing with me that back in the day, PBS was pretty down the road. You didn't know what their political bent was at all. It's just, I think it's been increasing and creeping up the partisan more and more into their programming. But I think it was just when Donald Trump was elected president, like the other mainstream media, they just didn't care anymore. They felt that they were saving democracy, so they threw all their journalistic standards and ethics into the trash can and said, we're going to save America, and we're going to take this president out and show the American people what a fool that they hired as president. And they just went overboard on it. There is a investigation. The FCC is investigating a PBS affiliate that has ads that are targeting Senate Republicans. This is an example of what we're talking about with PBS. This is an article from Just the News. It says Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr is investigating a PBS affiliate that's running what appears to be political ads targeting Senate Republicans. These are your taxpayer dollars here. The PBS Kansas City ad advises viewers to, quote, call your senators today and tell them to vote no, quote unquote, on the Trump administration's proposal to strip PBS and NPR federal funding. Now, that's against the law. Federal law prohibits non-commercial stations, including PBS ones, from accepting money in exchange for airing political issue ads. According to Just the News, they've asked the FCC's enforcement team to determine whether or not that has happened here. Carr wrote on X this week, I would encourage PBS and NPR to focus more on how they managed to lose America's trust. That is their problem, not Congress's work to ensure good stewardship of taxpayer dollars. I mean, it had a similar thing that happened locally I live in University City. And several years ago, there was a bond issue the school district was trying to get passed to improve some of the high school and the junior high, some of their facilities. And, schools have the little billboards that they have in front of the school telling you the PTA meetings tomorrow or this, and that happened. They had blatantly up there, we're asking people to vote yes on prop, whatever it was, which is blatantly illegal. You can't do that. I emailed our good friend, I can't think of his name, Tom, it'll come to me. He's Sullivan, Tom Sullivan. I took a picture of it. I sent it to him. I was like, Tom, is this do that? Can they do this? Can a school blatantly ask people to pass a tax increase that benefits them? And of course they can't do that. And I don't know what happened to it. I think it got some publicity. I can't remember, but I do remember like a day or two later that the sign was taken down from the school. I think they were called out on it, but those are the type of things that these people do. I mean, they feel that their taxpayers' money is their money, and that they should be able to advocate for things that go against you. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I also talked about how the Democrats, they seem to they're not getting the message of where middle America, they seem don't understand how the parties under President Trump have shifted, and that the blue collar worker party now is the Republican Party, and the elite college educated East West Coast party is the Democrats. And for years it was kind of the opposite of that. But the many things that Donald Trump has changed in politics, he has changed that dynamic, and Democrats don't seem to understand that. Jasmine Crockett, of course, we know who she is. I don't know if she is a squad member. She may not be. She's a congresswoman from Texas who has St. Louis ties. I think she graduated from MICDS. She represents a Houston district. This is what she said recently about why the Democrats are losing election. She said, most people voted the wrong way because they were uneducated. And that's not to call them dumb. You're trying to keep a roof over your head, keep food on the table, trying to make sure that your kids have what they need, and you're not tuned in. So I need y'all to understand that it's not going to be good enough that you go out and vote. You got to make sure you're educating people. And I agree with that to a extent. A lot of people aren't educated when they go out to vote. A lot of people vote every 4 years, and those are the people that, that are emotional ads and emotional appeals appeal to them, and they can vote interest that I don't think is in the long run good for the United States. But people are not as dumb as you think they are dumb. And even though she may have, this was not her intention, she's basically saying that because you're not voting the way that I want you to vote, you're stupid. And that may not be the message that she was intending, but it sure was the message that I got. And I don't see that winning anybody any votes anytime soon. Ashley, can we play number one? That's the Democrats feel that they are, especially the mainstream media, they're starting to kind of smell a little blood in the water regarding Donald Trump. We'll talk about that after this clip.
There's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. And that's really the point here that I think is most important, Maria. And you said it in your opening. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. Accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again.
That is Tulsi Gabbard, of course. And look, I don't think, I saw this percolating. I was traveling, of course, on the plane. I saw the story of this when I got off, and I thought it was an internet hoax or propaganda, Russian propaganda, trying to get Americans to fight against each other, fight each other. Apparently this is true. I don't think that the day will ever come that Barack Obama will be arrested or held accountable for this. I think the Democrats are going to say that this bombshell revelation coming out now during the whole Epstein affair is a smokescreen or a sidestep of the issue. As I said, the Democrats, they smell water in the blood because one, we know Don, he is the Teflon Don. Definitely. They've impeached him. They've indicted him, everything as they could do to him. And he has survived. But I think they smell blood in the water because one, the super MAGA base, I think you have the MAGA base and you have the super MAGA base. They feel that the super MAGA base is disappointed in Donald Trump, that maybe too soft of a word regarding his actions in Iran, his actions of selling Ukrainian missiles. One of the, I think it was, can't think of his name, so I'm not going to say the wrong name, but one of them said that MAGA is dead, and he was a huge MAGA supporter. So I think they see that little crumbling there could be the possibility, coupled with trying to buy insinuation, and they've been doing that the whole time he's been president, insinuation that he has some type of ties to Jeffrey Epstein, could be the crowbar or the wedge that could peel enough of his support away from him. I think one thing that they'd have to be very, very careful of is if they pressed upon this too hard, that you're going to make Donald Trump a martyr in their eyes, and those of you that you're trying to peel away from him are going to just cling more to them, even though they're disappointed in them. Because, and I think if it comes down between the mainstream media and Donald Trump, no matter how disappointed they are in him, they are never going to choose the media over him. I think the bombshell revelation last week of the Wall Street Journal having a letter that Donald Trump gave to Einstein. Not Einstein, is it? What's his name? Epstein. Einstein, Epstein, Frankenstein. It's all the same. The letter that he wrote gave him on his 50th birthday, that if it's true, and Donald Trump has denied this vociferously, apparently signed his name where private places would be, kind of insinuated that they both had some type of dark secrets. Donald Trump immediately has sued Wall Street Journal. He's got a pretty good track record of suing these media outlets. So we shall see the truth in that. But they see all of that, and they're pounding on it. We should see in the future if that will be something that hurts him. All right, we've got it's 1:21. We'll talk more about some immigration news that I have, some more lighter news towards the end of the show. You are listening to the Allman Report on the 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
I think we should incredible conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
All right, Window World. Are you ready for a window that is simply the best for less? Are you ready for a window that is thermally superior to all the rest? Are you ready for a window that has a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor? Are you ready for a window that sells the most windows in the country? Are you ready for a window that has the Good Housekeeping seal of approval? Are you ready for a window that's right here in St. Louis and rockin'? Yep. Window World would be your choice. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800, the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues and thousands of customers all throughout the St. Louis area. Window World has a financing plan for you as well, which makes it easy for you to do a whole house project. And I guarantee you, it'll look beautiful on your house as you're standing in your living room or if you're standing on your curb. These windows are beautiful, thermally superior to all the rest. So they're saving you money on your heating and cooling bills. And when you have somebody come to your house for a free estimate, dare them to stand on the window and challenge them and see whether or not that window breaks. It will not. These are strong windows and absolutely beautiful and simply the best for less. It's Window World, strong supporters of free common sense radio. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke. News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion.
Under President Trump's leadership, 150,000 criminal illegal aliens have been arrested by either Homeland Security or the Department of Justice and either deported or prosecuted. 150,000 threats to our community off the streets. But there are millions and millions more to go, Sean. And under President Trump's leadership, that's what's going to happen.
Stephen Miller, we always appreciate you.
Was that like crickets playing? Where did they interview him at? On the border or at a lake or something? That was really strange. All right. Back on the show, Jamie Allman Report, Chris Arp sitting in. Very, very strange there, but he's right. I mean, immigration is down dramatically. I think they had 6,000 something catches last month, which is dramatically down from where they have been. And it's amazing. I mean, Donald Trump didn't do anything absolutely revolutionary or evolutionary or anything. He just put people down at the border, told people that if you come to the country illegally, try to work, you will be deported. Where you may be deported may be an issue, and I think that is something that is also making people to think twice about crossing the country and coming in illegally. You've got one, you can be sent to alligator Alcatraz in the Everglades. Donald Trump has said that if you do plan escape, make sure you run in zigzags so the alligators won't get you. Last week, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited the other Alcatraz, the real Alcatraz in San Francisco Bay. You know, the president floated reopening Alcatraz and making that a prison as well. And they don't have alligators there in Alcatraz, but they do have sharks. And that is what is the non-incentive to try to escape from Alcatraz. We've heard stories of people being sent to Libya, Nigeria, other countries. The United States last week deported immigrants from Vietnam, Jamaica, Cuba, Yemen, and Laos to, I had never even heard of this country, Eswatini. Those of you that have heard of this very small country in Africa, Southern Africa, of Eswatini, raise your hands. I'm going to assume that there's not going to be a lot of you. But in Eswatini, the king still holds absolute power. And Eswatini says it's holding all of these people from these different countries in facilities until they can be sent home to their home countries. They have, I guess they're being paid by the United States in order to hold these people. But yeah, Eswatini in Southern Africa, that is one of the places that if you enter this country illegally and your home country does not want you, you can be sent there. So I think that's a huge, huge incentive for folks not to come into this country. And that's why we're seeing such dramatic drop in the poll numbers. Now, I made a mistake. Nigeria is not accepting immigrants yet. Nigerian Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar told the state television stations that, quote, the United States is mounting considerable pressure on African countries to accept Venezuelans to be deported from the U.S., some straight out of prison. Nigeria, he said, wasn't in a position to accommodate the U.S. request given its domestic challenges. But who knows? Nigeria could be a vacation destination for illegal immigrants. Donald Trump, of course, is celebrating his 6th month in office. His approval ratings are 41% when it comes to immigration, and that is down very much. That was one of the president's strong suits, was his immigration stance. Also, in a new Gallup poll, 38% of Americans now support deporting all undocumented immigrants. That has went down dramatically from 78%. And let's just face it, a big reason why this deport all undocumented immigrants is not because the American people just woke up one morning and had this great revelation and just said, this is something we don't want to do. This is wrong. You have the day after day case of Abrego Garcia, of this poor, innocent man. He's got a family in Boston. He's just trying to take care of himself. He's got his family. He's gotten caught up in all of this legal stuff, even though he came to the country illegally. They made him a martyr. You've got congressmen, you got senators traveling down there to visit him. They're making him a martyr. Of course, you're going to drive down the approval for immigration, and that's on purpose. That's exactly what they wanted you to do. If you watch the news coverage, you never heard anything about the allegations that Abrego Garcia was involved in human trafficking. The story of he and 3 other people were arrested with a car full of people with no suitcases. I mean, you don't have to be Matlock to figure that one out. And that is part of the reason he was brought back to the United States to face charges on that. So he is facing justice for those charges. I mean, can it be coincidental that you have the same gang markings, known gang markings that a gang uses to identify themselves? I mean, this guy is no angel. And when this was going on, we are just absolutely amazed that Senator Van Hollen would put his credibility, put his office's credibility, put the credibility of the United States on the line for this guy. And he knew it was a political gamble. Van Hollen did. You know, when he went to visit him, remember, he said he did not once ask him, was he guilty of any of these crimes? He just wants him to have, quote unquote, justice in the law, to make sure that all of the regulations and rules and all of that is taken. It, you know, it didn't so much. How are you gonna put your credibility on the line and then not even at first ask if the guy is a criminal? Did he do these crimes that are alleged? I mean, basically, it's one of those things. Well, I didn't ask, so I don't know, so I can not have any culpability. I don't think so, sir. Does not work at all. A new poll, as I said, Donald Trump has him at 42% approval in his first 6 months, 58% disapprove. Of course, the Democrats and the media are making a big deal out of his high of 45 points when he first started. But if you look back at the first term, Donald Trump, 42, 43, 44%. He pretty much stayed in that range. And most honest people will admit that if it wasn't for the pandemic and the economy kind of tanking because of that, that Donald Trump was pretty much on his way to being reelected, even with 44, 45% approval. People vote their pocketbooks, as James Carville said, and the economy was doing very, very, very well. Reuters, Ipsos, they have a poll on this whole Epstein affair. They're saying that 69% believe the Epstein details are being concealed. Just 17% of Americans approve of Trump's handling of this case, weaker than the president received on any other issue. Look, I think, I just want to put this out there. I think that the thing with Barack Obama, it could be true, may be true. Who knows? I don't think he'll ever be charged with this, but I think this was put out there as a distraction when it comes to the Epstein case. I think they know that this is something that's not going to distract people for a long time. But if you can distract for, a news cycle or two, it's a good thing. The president has called for the Justice Department to release all the Epstein files. And we've talked about this on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show with our legal expert, Zach, that you have to be very careful when you release grand jury duty, because you don't want to taint someone with a negative bent if they are involved in investigation, if they have never been charged. So you have to be very careful for that and make sure things concerning victims are redacted out and none of their names get out. So if the Epstein files are released, and we'll talk to Zach about this on Wednesday on our show, I don't think I've read and I've heard legal experts say that these files the full legal files will never get out. So we'll never know about that. It'll be very interesting to see just how far the media pushes this. The president, as I said, has sued the Wall Street Journal for this article. They have refused to retract it. All the other news stations, when they talk about this letter, have said that they can't independently verify it. The Wall Street Journal, put out a release saying that they are think this letter is credible and they stand behind the authenticity of it, and they are willing to do that. So in the big scheme of things, I don't think it means a hill of beans. You, like I said, I think you have the small part of the MAGA base that they're disappointed the president and may leave him, but I think most people within the MAGA base, and I count myself as one of them, believe that this is not a matter that I'm going to leave the president over. This is not a matter that too much concerns me. I'm more worried about taxes. I'm more worried about war, national security, foreign policy. I'm more worried about that than David Epstein. Was this handled the best way? Was it handled pretty clumsily? Oh, most definitely. I mean, it seems to a lot of folks that a lot of promises were made that seemed pretty self-made, that were pretty sure, and the results did not meet what were the expectations were. And I think we started to see the beginning of that when a small group of influencers got a invite to the White House with a special binder with parts of the Epstein case that was supposed to prove what everyone thought was going on, and it became a big absolute nothing burger. And that's when the beginning of the disappointment came with this Epstein case. Look, I think this is going to be like JFK. This is going to be like RFK. This is going to be like MLK. It's like we are never, ever going to know the truth of the matter of this. We can only speculate. We can only know. I've given you my thoughts on what I think happened. I do not think that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. I do think that there is a cover up here some way. And I think the reason for that is there's just too many powerful people on the left and on the right that were involved with this gentleman, and that if those names were ever disclosed, it will be one of the largest scandals ever in the history of this country and maybe the world. And I think people have looked at that and have weighed that and said, we can't, when in terms of, on one hand, justice, and on one hand, how will the world and the public handle this? They err on the side, and I think wrongly, they ought to give us more credit than they do, but I think wrongly err on the side of not letting the public know what's going on. I mean, we know that Prince Andrew of the royal family has been alleged to have been involved with some of the misgivings there on Epstein's Island. We know that other big names have been accused as well. So I think Dan Bongino, Patel, whatever, as I said, I think they were told by some is that this information cannot get out. And that is the situation at hand. I really, really do believe that. I mean, you remember when the video came out a couple of weeks ago that Raw's story had a exclusive article that said a portion of that tape had been manipulated but before it's sent out, and it never showed the door of Epstein's cell. So who knows? It's going to be very interesting. Donald Trump is a master of getting out of trouble, getting out of things, and it will be very interesting to see how this all shapes up. If we look at past history, this may be one of those situations where the Wall Street Journal and other members of the mainstream media may have fallen for a hoax once again, and they're going to have egg on their faces and will be writing checks to the Donald J. Trump presidential future library. All right, Chris Arps in for Jamie Allman on the Allman Report. What a true honor. You are listening to News Talk STL 1019 941 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
Every man has a place. In his heart, there's a space.
Everything woke turns to shit, okay?
Dropping truth bombs and making you think.
Hey, folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Gemini Wealth Group, strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. Jeff Portman, good friend of mine, great guy, and you can call him directly at 314-888-0123 or go to the GeminiWealthGroup.com for all of the setup you need to go ahead and get your eyes opened about the truth about retirement. So Here's one of the truths, and it's kind of good news and bad news. The good news is people retiring right now might live 20, 30, even 40 years after they retire. The bad news is you might live 20, 30, 40 years after you retire. And that's bad news sometimes because if you're not prepared, if you're not diversified enough, if you haven't put enough money in, if you haven't considered your tax liabilities or your rental liabilities or mortgage liabilities or healthcare liabilities, if you haven't factored all that in, if again, you aren't diversified in your investments, all those things, you got to make sure you are. And if you are, then they're going to make sure that it works for you in retirement at thegeminiwealthgroup.com. If you're about to retire, get that advice. If you're newly retired and all the things I'm saying are kind of new to you, then you need somebody who's going to shepherd you through this beautiful time of your golden years. The GeminiWealthGroup.com, 314-888-0123 is Jeff Portman's direct line.
Back pain? Follow me to Esquire Sports Medicine, where they've got your back. Esquire is the oldest sports medicine clinic in St. Louis. Dr. Draghi and his team of chiropractors can get you back to work, back to life without the pain. New patients usually scheduled within 24 hours. 314-644-0885. 644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
Let's talk turf. Let's talk lawns. Let's talk about Hydrodynamics Core can help with both. Tim Jones here for Hydrodynamics Core, a St. Louis family-owned and operated company since 1973, which will help you have what every homeowner wants, lush green grass, thriving plants and shrubs with their annual 6-step process of weed prevention and fertilizations that you should sign up for today. The Hydrodynamics Turf Plan will deliver a beautiful lawn you and your family will absolutely love. Get started now by visiting hydrodynamicscore.com. That's hydrodynamicscore.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 425. At 525, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Well, you could say our adversary, China, they're kind of the best at long-range planning. They have systematically worked over 40 years to invest against our weaknesses. But, the one thing they could not see coming is the AI revolution, because even we could not see it coming. The AI revolution is an American phenomenon. It is something we are leading in, as the president said. We can't take that for granted. We have to keep up the pace, as the president's doing and as our industry is doing. But the real opportunity is that AI allows us to give the American workers superpowers. It allows us to compete in a completely asymmetric way. We shouldn't forget, at the dawn of World War II, we had the 17th largest army. We were the underdog by a long shot. And I think American greatness always starts when we're the underdog. When we were the rebels against the redcoats, when we were starting to build factories in World War II, we're back there again. I would agree with the president that we are the leader in AI. We're not catching up, we're leading.
Didn't you just hear the Rocky theme playing there when he's talking about America and AI and how we need to lead? I love that. All right. Chris Arps here sitting in for Jamie Allman, the Allman Report, talking about the AI revolution, which AI has, just in the short time that it has been here, has truly revolutionized the workforce. You remember at the beginning of its kind of rollout, Elon Musk and others were telling us that we need to just stop, right now, the advancement of it till we understand it, that it can be very, very dangerous. I think I saw something last week that said, predicted that 60% of white collar jobs could be eliminated by the end of the decade, not 10, 20 years from now. By the end of the decade, because of AI. And, the thing that's it's getting to the point when I went to this seminar in London, we talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and the 3 different stages of it. And right now it's in a second stage where it's learning all of it can from all the information from the internet that it's interpreting, but it's not actually doing any type of thinking. It's just, basically spitting out something from its research. That the third part of AI is when it can actually think, and when it actually can like do task for you. Like it'll make some type of suggestion to you, and it'll say, oh, okay, let me call the pizza store and order this for you and give you an update of how it's cooking in the kitchen and what time it's going to be to you. That it is getting to that point. I'm going to talk to Joey. I want to talk to Joey about this because, of course, he is our movie aficionado on the Tim Jones and Chris Arf show. He has his own segment at the end of Fridays. We talk about movies. But interesting article that I got from Axios. Google's latest AI video tool, VO3. Ashlyn, you ever heard of VO3 video tool? You're the youngster and know about all this stuff.
I'm young, but I live under a rock.
Got it. VO3, listen to this, now generates short movies with sound based only on still photos and prompts. The videos look almost but not quite real, which isn't necessarily a bad thing considering the rise of deepfake. Subscribers can upload a photo, describe the motion and audio they want in the video, including background music, ambient noise, and dialogue. Gemini generates an 8-second 720p resolution video clip in a downloadable file. The tool takes 2 to 3 minutes to create a video. I mean, that's just absolutely amazing. And it's going to be a long time before machines can actually recreate the creativity of human beings. But I always joke with Joey, but I'm absolutely serious. And he gets a little mad at me when I say this, but there's not much originality, authenticity in Hollywood anymore. They're basically just remaking the same movies, or it's whatever the big blockbuster is, number 12. This is the 12th edition of. There's just not really that much originality anymore. And so because of that, if AI basically scrubs the internet of movies and ideas and all that, why can't an AI program, a really good one, just scrub all the different movie plots and ideas that's around there and just create a blockbuster movie? I don't know. It's like there's not much new creativity going. And then you look at what a machine can do and maybe think beyond what we can think of. We may be watching one day and probably be long after I'm gone, but we may see a movie one day that is generated by AI when best Oscar for Ashlyn's like, oh my God, I don't want to be alive when a machine wins the Oscar for best picture. But I think that is I think it's a possibility. Who knows? This I hope Stell is listening, because Stell would probably be interested in that. Our own Stell is our astronomer. He's our weather guy. A 54-pound chunk of Mars, the largest piece of red planet ever discovered on Earth, sold at auction for $5 million. The asteroid strike blew the piece of the rock of the Marsh, or the piece blew off the Martian surface. It was discovered in the Sahara Desert in 2023. Now, here's my non-scientific question that I have for this. How do they really, really know that this asteroid came from Mars? You know what I'm saying? I mean, why can't it just be some asteroid that comet that floats around on? How do you know that this? Oh, yes, we can definitively say that this astronaut came, or this asteroid came from Mars. Couldn't some comet or some other thing replicate the soil or replicate the same minerals that Mars has? I don't know. And it's remarkable too. 54 pounds for that thing to make it through the Earth's atmosphere and not burn up is something that is absolutely amazing that it didn't. All right, Gen Z. What Allison, you know what Gen Z? What generation is that?
So I am considered Gen Z.
You are Gen Z?
I'm a 97, but I call myself a Zillennial.
Well, I have a question for you here. The TikTok, they're having a fight over what's called the Gen Z stare, the blank look you might get from a young person who doesn't seem to be listening. Depending on who you ask, the stare either means the Gen Zer thinks you're a total moron or that kids today don't have social skills. If you spent your formative years on Zoom and you didn't get much exposure to learning how people give each other visual cues that said they're listening, a millennial who wrote about this on her Substack. So that's interesting. It's like, because it's either you're looking at us that we're stupid or we grew up with too much Zoom and we don't know how to like recognize social cues. I hope not.
Usually mine's the first option.
I never heard of that before. I'm glad I know that. So if a Gen Z person looks at me with a blank stare, they may not be saying I'm a moron. They may just like, I don't really have any social skills because I use Zoom for school. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, I could see that because I feel like our generation has a lot of anxiety. So when you have anxiety, you kind of space out. So I could see the relation there.
Has someone in your generation given you a Gen Z stare?
Oh, most definitely. My brothers, definitely.
So you knew exactly what I was talking about there. That's very, very interesting. I hope that's not I hope it's just a stare, you're a moron. I hope that it's not to the point where we're raising a generation of kids that are not getting the social cues that you need, which you can kind of see that too, because the younger generation, younger than you, they when I was growing up, you went outside, you went to the mall, you went to riding your bike, you were just gone. And these kids nowadays, they just sit at home and just game all day. And they have no problem with that. It's like, don't you want to get outside? Don't you want to see your friends? Oh, I see our friends here online. That's an alien world to me.
A little bit, yeah, but I mean, they shut down the malls and shut all the
Yeah.
things down in the malls. So the mall isn't, and also the safety around that. It's not even an option kind of for our generation.
But can't you just go over to somebody's house and like, hey, let's build a ramp and see if we can jump and build like we used to do. We used to build fires and back in the woods, and then we'd build the ramp so we could jump. Well, you ever heard of Evel Knievel?
Oh, yeah.
I grew up during the Evel Knievel
Okay.
era,
Makes
so
sense.
we all would do stuff. That's the type of stuff we would do.
I think people are concerned about getting sued and
Yeah.
all that type of jazz. So yeah, the fun has definitely been taken away, and the cameras, just
Yeah.
that aspect.
Oh, I am so glad that there were no such thing as cell phone cameras when I was like in high school or a younger person, because I probably wouldn't be doing this. Because something would probably come out or something. So yeah, I'm like, and when you're younger like that, you don't, because some of these kids, some of the stuff they put on social media, I'm like, do you realize, one, this is forever?
Yeah.
Two, that your employer one day is going to be looking through your social media and they're going to see this, and you're
See your TikTok dances.
yeah. They're going to see you taking the Tide Pod challenge, and it's like, you want to handle what $1 million account, and you ate a Tide Pod when you were younger?
We did the cinnamon challenge. Did
I
you
saw
see
that.
Okay.
People
that
were
was pretty
dying from
stupid.
that.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. My friend did that once.
Did you see anyone have like a reaction?
No. She just gasped for air
Yeah.
and coughs in it.
And it was weird because it's that so much of that powder or whatever, it can make you choke and asphyxiate. Who would ever thought that
Cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon would do that. I remember when I was in high school, when I was in grade school, that this kids would like dip cinnamon on toothpicks. Yeah, and then toothpicks all night and everything. So the cinnamon, and it was like the sweet cinnamon, not the cinnamon that you're baking with.
Yeah.
And so they would sell you like 5 toothpicks for 10 cents, and they just taste, and they just, and it just tasted like cinnamon. You're like, oh man, you got some cinnamon toothpicks, 5 for 10.
Never heard
that. Yeah, that's a 70s thing. All right. 157. You've been listening to Chris Arps on the Allman Report. Jamie, thank you for allowing me to sit in. Ashlyn, thank you for holding my hand and guiding me. You can hear Tony Colombo Report next here on the, no, that's no, yeah, it is. How long has the station been on? 5 years. Do I know the programming? I do know that the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show is going to be on at 4 to 6. You've been listening to 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Replacing your windows and doors? Do not settle for ordinary. Go extraordinary. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service window and door replacement division of Anderson, a name trusted for more than 120 years. Their exclusive FiberX material combines the strength, durability of wood with low-maintenance features of vinyl. You get window